Hi guys, I'm back with another video! Yay! I told you guys I'm making one video a week and I'm keeping up with that promise right now, so far, even though it's only the second week, but it's a start. Today I decided to make a little different video from the other ones I made because I know all my other ones have mostly been about college, how to get into your dream school, and like reading my essays and stuff. The majority of my stuff is still probably going to be about college, but I also want to be able to post whatever I want on my channel regardless of like what niche it fits into. I'm just planning on making videos that I would want to watch, whether that's about, I don't know, like working out, college, or like food, or just like anything really. So don't expect my channel to just be about college. That's basically what I'm saying. But today's video is still kind of like within that space. Today I'm going to be talking about what I wish I did differently in high school. I've been pretty nostalgic and reminiscing on my high school time. It was like a whole 4 years of my life. Being 18 years old, that was like 1/5 of my life, I think, if I'm doing the math right. That's a long time, and I definitely think I changed a lot throughout high school, and I was so clueless going into high school. This video is basically a way for me to kind of just think back on like what I did in high school, and maybe if you guys can learn from this video and avoid some of the mistakes I made, that'd also be good. Also, this video is kind of be geared more towards girls because obviously I'm a girl, and I think like the experiences we have within high school do differ to a certain extent, like with our gender. So I have some notes here. Do you see this? I literally wrote like whole ass notes. Like I wrote all of this just for this video. Appreciate it, please. Like 2 weeks ago, my dad got me this for my graduation present and to use it in college. I'm going to try to go paperless in college and not buy any textbooks or notebooks. When I get some experience with using it and everything, I will also make a video on my experience with it and whether I think it's worth it and if I think it can replace my computer. So yeah, let's get into it. So the first regret I have about high school is feeling caged to my friend group that I made in freshman year. I went to a private boarding school, so I had a week before school actually started to move in and kind of have our orientation program for new students. In that first week before school actually started, I met about 5 people who were also new boarders, freshmen like me, and we grew really close together, and that actually ended up being my main friend group for basically the rest of high school. I'm not saying that was a bad thing because I loved it, and it was a really nice way to feel comfortable and at home at my new school really quickly off the bat, and they really became my support system throughout the rest of high school, especially since we were all away from home and we couldn't be with our family when we needed to be. This was really nice, but also I think I got too comfortable within that friend group and having a group of people I can always go back to, that it kind of kept me from making new friends, and it made me more uncomfortable with making new friends. When you make new friends, you always go through kind of that awkward phase of, you know, making plans with someone you're not really that close to, and just like those awkward conversations where you guys still don't know if you're friends yet or not. And I grew less inclined to take that risk of talking to new people and forming those relationships because I felt like I already had like those strong relationships there. So I definitely think I made less friends as I went through high school compared to like freshman year when I made the bulk of my friends. I was too lazy and I didn't want to spend that energy on forming new relationships. So that's one regret I have. The second regret I have in high school is I wish I didn't worry so much about being likable. I think this is something that a lot of people like don't want to admit. They're like, oh, I'm unique, I don't care what other people think about me. A lot of people probably really don't care, but I definitely wasn't one of those people, as much as I hate to admit it. Especially going to a new school freshman year, not knowing anyone, there definitely was pressure on me to be likable because no one wants to be that one person who, you know, can't make any friends. And I think that notion kind of carried over into the rest of high school, where there was always a thought in the back of my head where I felt like I had to be likable to other people and I couldn't come off too strong to others because I didn't want, you know, people to think badly of me. I unconsciously was a little fake at times, because I always have this small fear that if I act like truly like myself, people are going to think I'm weird and they're not going to want to talk to me. But then that forces me to kind of restrain what I say, and it comes off a little fake to others. I think when I have this like idea of like being likable, it's when I like don't make genuine friendships. The thing is, when I look back on like how I met and how I formed my best friendships, I can't recall like a certain situation or a certain moment where I was like, I'm going to be friends with them, and I thought about like what I was going to say and stuff. The closest friendships happen when you don't even realize it. So one thing I want to try to do going forward is try to be more authentic, even though it is really hard for me since I've been aware of the things I say for so long and kind of restraining what I say out loud. Because logically, when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, I make the most genuine and best friends when I don't think about it. But I still find myself unconsciously kind of changing my personality to fit in with what I think the other person will like. And then the third regret I have about high school is I wish I could let go of this inner and like subconscious obligation to be perfect. This applied to a lot of different aspects of my life. I would definitely say freshman year, the biggest aspect was my grades. And I definitely think that obsession with having perfect grades kind of stemmed from the culture shock I got when I came to my high school and I was suddenly met with a lot harder classes and a lot more homework load than I had in middle school, where I would spend max like 30 minutes a day on my homework and it'd be easy for me to keep perfect grades. It was the first time I was getting like multiple C's or C pluses on some tests, which like never happened to me in my life, and I would see that and I would see my yearly grade drop, and it was really tough for me. I put so much emphasis and importance on those perfect grades that I distinctly remember one time I got like a C plus on a math test, and this was like my second or third C plus on a math test, and I called my parents like crying, and I was telling them how I like ruined the rest of my high school experience and my transcript, that I'm never gonna get into a good school because of this like one C plus and like this one B plus I had in a class, and I was so devastated by it, and like one bad grade would affect my whole week. And I definitely think it got better as I went through high school, and it got to senior year where like second semester I literally didn't turn in some assignments and I wouldn't care. And I definitely think I was happier when I stopped caring about grades. I put emphasis on grades, but if I got a bad grade, I learned to just kind of let it go because there's nothing you can do about it at that point. So I think that definitely helped me. And next, still going off of that idea of me trying to be perfect, is I wish I opened up more to my friends about, you know, the personal struggles and problems I was facing at certain times. I definitely think I have a hard time with doing that. I think I have a tendency to kind of internalize a lot of my stress, and I never want to tell my friends because I think that maybe they'll judge me. And sometimes I also didn't feel like I had the right to be stressed about something because there's so many problems in the world to be stressing about. My small like personal problems about, you know, like relationships or something, it's so insignificant. And so I really wish I didn't keep secrets from my friends concerning my feelings about things and stuff going on in my life. And this really bit me in the ass hard sophomore year. I almost lost all of my closest friends because of this one situation where if I was just honest and told them what was going on and told them like how I really felt about the situation, it would not have been that bad and it probably would not have blown up in my face like at all. And it was one of those situations where because I didn't tell them what was going on in my life, they were in a position where they had to make assumptions and fill in the blanks of what they didn't know, and it made things seem a lot worse than they actually were. And so if I was just honest, then I would have avoided a lot of stress, a lot of sadness, because I had like a couple months period in sophomore year where I felt really lonely and like I had no one to turn to because I kind of like lost a lot of my friendships during that period. Also, when those things would happen and where I would not open up about my life to my friends and I was sad about certain situations, I would lock myself away a lot of times and just stay in my room and like watch Netflix or just do my own thing. And I would just expect my friendships to stay the same while I was going through this period of not being in the best mood and not feeling so great. And so when I would come out the other side of that and try to connect with my friends again, I definitely found that those friendships were a little different, a little weaker. And I don't know why I expected those friendships to stay the same when I would reach out again, but they definitely don't. And I definitely learned the hard way that friendships definitely are two-sided, and they're not just going to be waiting for you to, you know, be in a good mood again and want to hang out with them. So I definitely regret that. And like, it took a while for me to like rebuild those friendships again. And the fourth thing I wish I did differently in high school is I wish I didn't look to boys for validation. This is why I said in the beginning of the video that this is going to be a little more geared towards girls. I feel like guys don't have as many like regrets about this kind of stuff, but I really don't like to admit it, but in high school I definitely was what some people would call boy crazy, and I looked to guys for validation when my self-esteem wasn't that great, which is never a good idea, and you never realize it until you come out the other side and you look at the decisions you made and you're like, wow, you were a fucking dumbass. I definitely think my obsession with wanting to be in a relationship and craving guys' attention, that sounds disgusting, but it's true, came from, this sounds stupid, but I think it definitely stemmed from middle school, where I definitely got my feelings hurt a lot by certain boys. There was a certain situation where multiple guys would ghost me over the summer, and I would come back to school finding out that they were dating another girl, which I know middle school relationships are stupid, but in the moment it hurt a lot. And it definitely kind of skewed my view of relationships moving forward. It even carried over to high school, where I felt like I wasn't good enough for a guy's attention. And I definitely think that made me come into high school with this mindset of wanting a boyfriend and wanting guys to like me. I'm cringing talking about it because I know how stupid it is now looking back on it. But throughout high school, I definitely felt like I needed a boyfriend to make myself complete, which totally isn't true. And if any of you guys watching this think that, like, throw that idea away, because I had that mindset for so long. I'm finally realizing that it's just like not true. And I definitely think a big part of this comes from the fact that our whole lives were plagued with all these rom-com movies or high school movies where having a boyfriend is portrayed as such an important aspect of someone's high school time, and that's definitely not true. If I didn't care so much about guys and I just kind of like ignored that part in high school, I would have had such a better time, and I would have been able to have like so much more fun with my friends and less stress thinking about those things. Going off of that low self-esteem aspect, every time a guy would show even like a little bit of interest in me, I would subconsciously convince myself that I liked them back because I had that subconscious need for a boyfriend. It would only be when it really sunk in that this could turn into something more serious and I would actually have a boyfriend that I would get cold feet and I would ghost them or just be like, I'm done with this, and they'd be like, what just happened? I would know in my head that it's such a shitty thing to do, but I couldn't help how I felt. This is embarrassing, but I didn't learn after the first time. I didn't learn after the second time. This probably happened like 6 times during high school, which is a lot. And after every single time that happened, I would know that I never really wanted a boyfriend. It was just about the idea of having a boyfriend that I liked, and it wasn't that I actually liked that person for that person. And those situations alone is a big regret of mine, because I wasted a lot of time and energy worrying and stressing about those situations. But also, like, branching off of that, I have a bigger regret of I feel like I lost out on a lot of potential good friendships with those guys, because they were generally like good guys and I liked spending time with them, but like those whole situations kind of like ended like any communication between us. I definitely think if I just didn't feel the need to make it anything more, I would have had really good friendships that would, you know, last through high school. Don't get caught up in the whole societal pressure to get a boyfriend, or that a guy's attention would make you feel more whole than you already are, and that they would make you happier, because it really didn't for me. It just did the opposite. And the last regret I have about high school is I wish I didn't let my body image affect my mood so much in high school, and also affect my actions. I definitely think this had a correlation with boys, because I feel like whenever I had really low self-confidence, I would turn to boys for validation, which was really not a good way to cope with my own problems. Also, like whenever I would not feel confident with myself, I would lock myself in my room and just do my own thing and not talk to new people because I felt like they would just judge me by the way I looked. An example of a time when I was really like self-conscious and it really affected my way of life was sophomore year. Maybe there was some correlation with that and guys and the problems I had with my friends. I haven't told you guys, but I have pretty bad eczema. Right now it's really good, like I barely have any, but I go through time periods where my whole neck is red, like my arms are really red and my face gets really red. And sophomore year was the first time that I got eczema like really bad on my face. Before sophomore year I had eczema, but it was usually just on my neck and my arms, so it was easier for me to cover it up and not be as self-conscious about it. But sophomore year it got really bad to the point where like it was all over my forehead, all over like above my lip and below my lip. It was like the first thing my eyes went to when I would look in the mirror. This might be TMI, but it would get really dry and then crack, and then like it would secrete like clear liquid, if that makes sense. Like, you know, like when you have a wound and like you have that like clear liquid, yeah, that would be on my forehead, and then like that would crust up and then fall off and it'd be really dry and it'd just be a constant cycle. And I later learned that like my eczema was so bad that like my oil glands in my face were like destroyed, so like it was incapable of producing oil and like keeping my skin normal. And so I ended up having to go on medication for it. But during sophomore year, when that was the first thing that happened, it was really rough and my self-confidence took a large hit and I just wanted to lock myself in my room and do nothing. I really wish I wasn't that self-conscious back then because none of my friends cared. And even like the majority of people that I weren't even close to didn't care. A big part of it was definitely in my head, and I definitely think if I didn't feel so self-conscious, I would have saved myself a lot of stress and I would have had better memories of sophomore year. I would always feel off about myself, especially when the way I think or I want to look didn't reflect in the mirror. I have a lot of tendencies that I really don't like to admit that I have. But you know, it's good for people to know that other people have these problems too. Because I feel like, especially with body image, it's a problem so many girls have, in high school especially, but no one really talks about it, or at least my friends and I didn't talk about it. I felt like no one else felt the same way as I did, and that I was just like a bad person for judging myself on the way I look. And I really hope like if some of you guys feel that way, like watching this will help, because it'll let you know that you're not alone and that I felt exactly the same way, and I still sometimes feel the same way. Even like a month or two ago when I first came to Korea, I was in such a bad mood and I probably had worse self-image that I ever had in my life. And like I'm definitely getting better at that, but it's a work in progress. Like you can't expect it to just get better overnight. And that's the mindset I have now. And again, I haven't totally solved these problems, but I definitely think if I was more aware of these things going into high school, I would have been able to manage them more, because in the moment you never realize what you're doing wrong. And I feel like if I just known, I would have, you know, listened to myself and, you know, saved myself a lot of problems and troubles. But that's all for this video. I hope it helped you in some shape or form. I know it's going to be hard for people to learn from my mistakes since they don't really know the problems that made me come to these conclusions about regrets I have in high school. And I hope it helps even 1% for you guys to be more aware of the things you do. If don't make the same mistakes I did. So if you enjoyed watching this video, please like this video and subscribe, because it helps me know that you guys truly do like these videos and you want me to make more videos like this, especially since this is kind of different from my other videos that I made. And also comment down below what you thought about this video and any other video ideas you have that you want me to make, because I really need ideas. Also comment down below if you have any questions for me and I will make sure to respond to them, because I've been responding to all of my comments, or like 99% of the comments. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed and I will see you next week. Bye guys.